for a property, but the date that we're leaving has now been extended another additional 6 weeks while the buyer works on some other things that's all in our benefit. So that's a good thing.
6 weeks till when?
So the original date we're gonna be out was around June 14th, I believe.
There we go. The live stream.
And so now it's gonna be 6 weeks from there, which I don't feel like doing the math right now. So yes. So Beltane actually won't be the last ritual, but we're still gonna do the closing of the grounds and farewell and all that because it's already planned. Might as well.
Is there any way that we can coordinate it when we find a place and then we do the closing, or is it set in stone? In other words, we find a place first. So just I prefer a piece of property and we can grow our own building and do everything else. It will be a nice property. And I wanted to go anywhere and everywhere. We can go to Davie, we can go anywhere. Wilton Manors is our
well, we're gonna figure all that out and stuff. But let's stick to. That was just a quick announcement. We're gonna stick to the class at hand here. Okay. So again, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Today we're going to talk about Beltane, history of Beltane, and then we're going to go and talk about what we're going to do on Sunday and a bit of some little ritual prep. So there are many holidays that are celebrated on or right around May 1st. There's Walpurgis or Walpurgis Night, which is largely celebrated in Northern Europe. The traditions and practices vary a little bit depending on the region, but it is mostly a fertility festival and a day to welcome in the spring. Bonfires are lit and danced around while folks sing and dance. Bread with butter and honey is often enjoyed. In Germany, it is almost like a second Samhain. People dress up in costume, play pranks, and make loud noises to scare away evil spirits. Part of that tradition, however, did come about from many of our holidays being Christianized, essentially. In Finland, they celebrate Vappu, and carnivals are held, maypoles are danced around, and much merriment is basically had. In Rome, there's a Floralia, and Floralia is it's a multi-day festival, which is held in the honor of the goddess Flora, the Roman goddess of flower, spring, and fertility. Start seeing a little pattern here about spring, flowers, fertility. So the festival, it has a pleasure and indulgence focus, as many of the Romans and Greeks love to partake in much indulgence. Many of the games and other activities are held for 6 days. There are gladiator fights, circuses, theater troops performing, and of course, nude dancing, because why not? Among many other activities. And like I said before, you may notice a very common theme in all these holidays: welcoming in the spring, the awakening of the earth and its creatures, and of course, fertility. And then we have Beltane, the holiday that we are going to be celebrating on Sunday. Beltane is a Gaelic holiday in origin. It is generally celebrated on May 1st. It is often associated with the god Bel, and as well. And the origin of the word is thought to have meant fires, which is tine or teen, in Gaelic, and Beltane, Beltane. And so it evolved into that Beltane word. So it's the fires of Bel. Beltane marked the winter, that winter has finally ended, and the start of spring and summer. Seasons back in that era, they weren't really as divided. There was fall and winter and spring and summer, and they were more or less the same. Fall was just winter that was less wintry, essentially, and spring was summer that was less summery. Like many other holidays around this time, Beltane marked the awakening of the earth. Flowers were blooming, the ground was fertile and ready for crops to be planted. The animals, basically the same, fertile and ready for planting. Beautiful festivals were held. There were floral decorations that blanketed the towns, maypoles erected, the air thick with the smell of bread, meats, and treats. Giant bonfires are made, and people will dance, sing, and celebrate. For they have made it through the winter, and the time to come out and live again has arrived. There's another ritual that is done with bonfires as well, and that's to bless the livestock. I'll wait for the plane, sorry. So another ritual is done with bonfires during this time, and it's to bless the livestock and to cleanse them and make sure that disease doesn't fall upon them. And basically what's done are 2 bonfires are made side by side with each other with enough room for the livestock to go through. And the farmers walk the animals through between the fires, which cleanses them and blesses them in hopes for a fruitful year. And then people will follow through as well and get blessed and cleansed, and they hope for a fruitful year for themselves as well. And many meetings for fruitfulness. Maypoles were very important as well. A maypole is a pole that is erected from the ground. It's often decorated with flowers and will have ribbon or similar strands tethered to the top. When the time is right, the Maypole Dance will happen. People will grab a strand of ribbon and stand around the maypole in 2 circles, generally. One circle will face one direction, and the other circle will face the other direction. And then when it starts, people will run and zigzag in and out, and in and out, and in and out, basically creating a weave around the pole of the ribbon. The symbolism of the maypole has been continuously debated by folklorists for centuries, although there is no definitive answer that has been found. Some scholars classify maypoles as symbols of the world axis mundi. One other theory holds that they were a remnant of the Germanic reverence for sacred trees, as there's evidence for various sacred trees and wooden pillars that were venerated by the pagans of much of the Germanic region of Europe, including, of course, Thor's oak and the Imminsel. No.
No, sorry.
Ronald Hutton, however, did state that there is absolutely no evidence that the maypole was regarded as a reflection of it. It is also known that in Norse paganism, cosmological views held that the universe was, like Bruin was just saying, a world tree known as Yggdrasil. So maypoles possibly could have been, at least for the Norse Germanic tribes, as a a mirror as a totem for Yggdrasil, possibly. More modern interpretations of the maypole have it as a phallic symbol. There's no inherent historical evidence that it was exactly a euphemism, but I mean, it's a giant pole, often with two hoops on either end of it, kind of phallic, and it's entering into the ground. So yeah, that the design is rather telling of that as well. But and especially with Beltane in particular being more of a sensual holiday in nature for a lot of people, not always, but for a lot of people. And then there's also, it's been in literature like John Cleland's Fanny Hill, and I just, you have to love ancient like smut erotica because it's just something special about it. And so this one quote I always love, and it's, "And now disregarded from the shirt I saw with wonder and surprise what, not the plaything of a boy, not the weapon of a man, but a maypole of so enormous standard that the proportions been observed, it must have been to a young giant."
What was the classic 70s movies? Constable,
Wicker Man,
That's
yes.
a whole Maypole.
Oh yeah, many maypoles and phallic and sensual representation in Wicker Man.
Is it only women that go around the Maypole?
No, all types. The whole community, men, women, children, go around the maypole. Mm-hmm.
Still kisses.
Yes. So, but yeah. So, but you know, the maypole wasn't just used for Beltane; it was also used for midsummer and in other traditions as well. So it's not inherently purely sensual in nature.
We would do the Maypole here and try to make it to the sea.
Oh, yes. So
The boy, what happened was, the boys, you asked, the boys will bring the Maypole
here, let's
around.
we'll have
Both of you kept like going cross, you know, and then they would back it up to a pole that they gotta stand it up. So the boys had to raise the pole, but it would only go up a little bit, and they would call for encouragement, and the ladies would come and encourage the pole and the boys. And on the third try, they finally got it up, and there's much yelling.
yes.
And after that, it was, you know, right, I'm ready.
That there were some wild times in the CUUPs Beltane of the past. We'll get there again.
Okay.
All right. So yes, maypoles are important and hold a lot of symbolism of many types. Then flowers. You see flowers all over the place with Beltane. Flowers are a very important symbol for Beltane. And really, the flower is the perfect symbol in my head of the start of the new season. You know, it's the start of the warm season. Life is literally sprouting out of the ground. And much like the flower, people and animals are starting to come out of their hovels from the long winter and show themselves again, starting to blossom as well. Plus, you know, who doesn't love the motif of a bunch of flowers decorating everything? It's just a beautiful sight. And they're white and yellow flowers, such as the primrose, rowan, hawthorn, the gorse or hazel, and the marsh marigold. Those were all traditionally placed at doorways and windows Sometimes loose flowers, strewn across the doorways and paths, all romantic like. And they were often made into bouquets and garlands, and crosses were sometimes fastened to them, depending on where in the era of Beltane, after the Christians kind of came in and sprinkled their culture in. But yeah, there was a heavy use of white and yellow flowers, and a lot of people think that's, Beltane is a fire ritual. At the end of the day, you're celebrating fire and the warmth and the earth coming alive. And so, white and yellow flowers put everywhere kind of looks like fire. So it invokes that feel of fire. Many Beltane practices were designed to ward off or appease the fairies and prevent them from stealing dairy products and other such things. Because, the fae aren't bad, but they like to have fun, sometimes at the expense of us human folk. And yeah, so like for example, 3 black coals were placed under a butter churn to ensure that the fairies did not steal the butter. And maypoles were tied to milk pails. The tails of cattle are hung in the barns to ensure the cattle's milk was not stolen. Flowers were also used to decorate the horns of cattle, which was believed to bring good fortune. Food was left or milk poured at the doorsteps or places associated with ALC or the Fae, the spirits. Berry trees and stuff like that were left around as offerings, because if they're filled with the lovely sweet butter and milk, then they're too content and fat and happy to cause mischief. However, milk was never given to a neighbor on May Day, and that's because it was feared that the milk would be transferred to the neighbor's cow. In Ireland, cattle would be brought to fairy forts, where a small amount of their blood would be collected. The owners would then pour it into the earth with prayers for the herd's safety. Sometimes the blood would be left to dry and then be burnt as well. It was thought that dairy products were especially at risk from harmful spirits. So to protect the farm produce and encourage fertility, farmers would lead a procession around the boundaries of their farm. They would carry with them the seeds of grain and implements of husbandry, the first well water and the herb of vervain, or rowan as a substitute if you don't have vervain. The procession generally stopped at the 4 cardinal points of the compass, beginning in the east. Might sound familiar for a lot of how we do rituals. And the procession generally stopped at the, sorry, misread that. Yeah, beginning in the east, and rituals were performed in each of the 4 directions. Again, sounds very familiar with a lot of the practices we do. People made the sign of the cross, and this is again more when Christianity kind of delved and mixed their culture in, but made the sign of the cross with milk for good luck on Beltane, and the signs of the cross was also made on the backsides of cattle. So in the Wiccan tradition, there's this concept of the Lord and Lady and the God and Goddess. So Wiccans follow the wheel of the year. And so when it comes to the holidays and sabbats, basically that wheel of the year, it also follows the story of the Lord and the Lady, the God and the Goddess. So starting at Yule, when the lady gives birth to the Lord, and then kind of goes through the holidays, they both grow and mature. Then Beltane happens, And that's when the Lord and the Lady, they become young adults, and they join in a lovely union. And then the lady becomes pregnant. Then, more holidays happen. They grow and mature some more. She gets, further along in trimesters. Then comes along Yule. The Lord has passed, and the lady gives birth to the Lord again, and is then rejuvenated, and thus the cycle repeats. Tend not to think too hard on, wait, she just gave birth to the Lord, but then you just don't think about that. It's all good. But yeah, and so that's what this holiday really is about. It's the first, it's first the ending of winter and beginning of spring and summer and the earth awakening, and then it's about people coming together, building connections and relationships, deepening the connection with each other, no matter what that connection looks like: romantic, platonic, straight, queer, somewhere in between. It's all just about connections. That's why it's one of my favorite holidays as well. So that's a quick synopsis of what Beltane is and the history of it. And so yeah, this Sunday, we're going to be doing a Beltane ritual here on the grounds. And if you're local in Zoom, I definitely suggest swinging by. It'll be a fun time. So what we're going to do is around 6, people can start coming in, and there'll be some food and beverage and just a little like a social hour kind of thing, so people straggle in. Then around like 6:30-ish, we're going to do our own maypole. Going to zigzag around, make some lovely weavings. And then after that, I'm going to have a bunch of fake florals. And I highly suggest and recommend you also bring in your own either real florals or fake florals. I should have enough, but Beltane gets really, really popular. So a lot of people tend to come. And I've heard a lot of people wanting to come to this year's as well. So I'm pretty sure I got enough, but just in case, might be a good idea to, if you have any of your own florals, bring it just as a precaution. Just the flowers.
Greenery,
Yep.
anything you want to add. We're going to make bouquets.
Yes. And so what we're going to do is we're going to, after we've done the maypole and charged the maypole and have the weavings, we're going to cut the ribbon off. And everyone's going to take some ribbon and take the florals, and you're going to make your own bouquet. And then once we've done all of that, had a nice little jolly time while doing that, nice little craft day kind of thing. Around 7:30, we will start going to the ritual space. We'll get in, do a little meditation to kind of get into the mindset and everything. And then we're going to charge and bless our bouquets. And what I want you guys to do with the bouquets, you're not going to keep it. You're going to either have someone that you cherish or love already, and you want to continue deepening that relationship, that connection, and you're going to give that bouquet to them. Or you can take that bouquet and give it to someone you want to build a connection with, deepen a connection with. And again, there's not necessarily a romance and sensual thing. It can be just any kind of connection that you want to build. And then afterwards, we're going to do a kind of like a cleansing and blessing of the grounds, since we will be leaving, and a little farewell to the grounds, releasing some seals and other things that have been placed on the grounds. Bruin, would you like to talk a little bit more about that? What's going to happen afterwards?
Discussion.
Yes.
Why don't we transition the microphone over to here? Just mute your computer and where is it? All right. Yes. So after the main ritual, we're going to be we're going to close up that ritual, let people have a little bit of the downtime between one and the other. But the fire is going to be burning, and we're all going to go and get some chairs and bring them over. Basically similar to our full moon drum, we're all going to have circles, a circle of chairs so we can all be seated. And then we're going to start our honoring of the grounds. It's going to be a circle, which is actually like a formal meeting type of structure, where I'm going to start us off with a bit of a meditation to transition from social time to a formal circle, and then it's going to go around in circles, so everyone will have an opportunity to speak. I'll start with asking a question and have it go around. And when you want to speak, you have to wait for the circle to come around to you. That's going to be going around as long as it needs to, because we're going to have different people being able to talk about different things. If you have a lot to say, make one point and wait for the circle to come back around to you so everyone is involved. There will be other areas around the grounds that are open, so if it becomes a little too much, you're welcome to step away from the circle, and you can come back at any time. So we're going to have a grounds there, and then we're going to address the blessings that we have had on the grounds and give thanks to the elements and our Igor claw, and release them for further obligations after we leave the grounds. We don't want to leave the connections and the protections that we have on this when we go, because that could actually work against the next people who are trying to use the grounds.
And have all the protections, then all of a sudden you're gone. The protections are still there.
Yeah.
Not the same people.
It's like magical littering. If you leave it behind, clean up after yourself.
Good, bad.
So yeah, there'll be lots of different things we're paying an honor to, and opportunity for people to share their memories and experiences, and we'll be talking about whatever we know at the time about where we'll be going and building our new homes. And that will continue, and once people are done saying things, I'll encourage you, if you want to bring a drum, we can continue the circle for as long as we need to, so everyone can get a little bit of a closure there. So I'll plan on staying late, make sure the fire keeps going as long as people want to use it. So that's how we're going to close out. We'll have some lights around the grounds, so people might want to have some separate time to explore the fairy garden, maybe the labyrinth, if you can see it in the dark. Not quite sure, but we'll have some lights around.
And everyone else kind of give their own farewell as well. There's a lot of history to these grounds.
Yeah. And we've been encouraging a lot of people who have been involved in the past to come and visit for this particular ritual. So we're hoping to get a lot more people there. Nice big group.
I will also have, for anyone, it's fully voluntary, but and I know a lot of you are kind of more new to the grounds here, but I'll have a camera set up for basically like a little interview almost, because along with UCFL, I'm going to be making a video of just like memories and history of the place. And so CUUPs has been a huge part of the UCFL and its shaping. So I want to make sure I include that as well. So for anyone who wants to give their 2 cents in the rounds. I'll have a little video being made.
Anything anyone else wants to share about?
Beltane.
Are you all planning on being there?
About-
Anyone?
Ritual. Really, it's just if you have your own florals, either real or fake, that you want to bring, just as a precaution in case you run out.
Like you said, there's been food.
Oh, yeah, if you,
Always welcome more food.
yes.
How about firewood?
I've got a decent amount, but
Yeah.
if you've got some wood you want to donate to us, we'll make sure that we make use of it.
Mhm.
We have a pile for future woods, and I'm gonna try to take some of it whenever we finally lose the ground. But we got some time
What
now.
are you planning on running out? And is it like a themed food or is it just a potluck?
Just like a potluck. Yeah, the thing.
Back to your presentation, though, a lot of it was to protect milk, and that came to my mind. This is Beltane is like the start of summer. The animals started producing milk back in bulk, but it was still cool winter time. This was a time before refrigeration, so the milk would last longer then. But as it gets warmer, we have to do extra things to protect it because it's going to spoil a lot quicker because we're dealing with a agricultural state. So you could look into trying to prevent spoilage as greater than just an agricultural history, but you're trying to help things preserve and stay strong and prevent decay while things are so warm and lively.
Any other questions, comments, Beltane or the ritual that we're doing?
Our Zoom participants are welcome to unmute if you want to speak up.
Yes.
Okay.
I got a comment.
Yes, sir.
You know me, I'm a warrior, but I'm a peaceful warrior. You know?
Okay.
So my comment is that during this Goodbye Festival, we have to talk about the history of the Hollywood Pagan group. They came over here and donated 175,000. What was it? You know the exact figure? I don't know. And then we had a pagan individual who passed away who donated another 115,000. So that has to be honored because it's a part of our history.
Of course.
Especially for the pagans, you know, they come in here and they participate in different ways, but the financial participation was very significant.
Yeah. Yeah, cups and the local pagan community here really did help. We need to see it help flourish, and it still is.
Jeff Krill has the sound system if you want to use it.
Yes, we're going to be getting it.
We've already requested
But
it.
it's
Bring it here.
a friendly release.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You just have to shit up.
Moonpath
It's not being
circle,
sold.
Moonpath cups.
Yeah.
There's a reason why it's both Moonpath.
We can cash each other's checks. That's worth another reason.
Good to know.
So Bank just looks at the first word.
Yeah. So that
We would have the Sadie of the Hawk Chase, which was lifted from the little Abner cartoons. I'm not sure you guys, but it was the one day the women could officially chase the man. So we would have this chase of the women by the men, but where you use, so it was, you know, wherever you identify and all of that. And then they put the leaves on the men, and the women would go and gather the leaves. And the stupid men put the leaves here, and the smart men put them on the side, and also many leaves. And so they would send the men off, and then the women would take off after them. And the shrewd men observed, hey, these women are operating in packs. forming alliances. Do you think they do this anywhere else? We only lost one guy to the rescue squad each year that he carried off with a brain over
Yeah.
Always
sprained
a guy,
ankle, and
never
that's why it's smart to be strategic where you put your leaf.
Yeah,
because
yes. Because otherwise, you'll
it's
find
not
out
gentle
why.
gravity.
Right? And they want your leave. They don't want you.
Exactly. Yeah, there's been many interesting ritual and custom that has happened around Beltane. There's the Sadie Hawk kind of run. There's the May Queen, who is
Got the most leaves.
basically got the most leaves out of that, and the forget his title. The guy who basically was the quickest and didn't really get his leaves taken would become the king, and then
I didn't know there ever was one of those.
kind of, yeah, you kind of lose it whether you win or not.
Don't stand up and call yourself winner. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, that was
many a fun game.
that made that fun. One of the words of Beltane is sliding. The couples go sliding in the field. And whenever pairing again, you like to encourage the crops to slide also in the field.
Yes,
Plentiful.
that's
Right.
exactly going to the crops and bless with all the mustard that they can bless with.
But don't be jealous of the priest who's going out whatever they call it. Lovely Pokemon.
Yes, many impressive
So
Maypole.
Yeah. Something to do with that.
On a very deeper level, but they've always said that the kingdom of God is joy. So the pagans really connected with the joy. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And that's a major thing about this holiday in particular. Yes, the other ones. This one is very much just about, joy and celebration and coming together, because we just came out of what was probably, especially back then, a really harsh winter.
Yeah.
Especially if you had a bad crop run before winter came, might have not survived.
Yeah.
So if you survive that harsh winter, there's a lot to celebrate about.
On some pre-Beltane days, sick people, some of us taken, we would have to sacrifice some of the Easter bunny. And that produced a rebel insurgency to kidnap the Easter bunny. And they'll rescue it. So it went on and on and on. But the first one got heaved with a paper bunny, and it got heaved into the fire and it bounced out. And somebody said, I'm a Catholic. That is a sign from God. The rabbit must be freed. And someone else said, I'm an atheist. Through the rabbit.
There are many facets of paganism.
Thus the insurgency arose.
So you said this was a fire ritual specifically.
Fire.
Very.
Yes, fire festival.
I was looking up as I was looking at some of these rituals. I looked up. I found a citation for the origin of the word bonfire, and the bonfire was the fire used for sacrifice, and it was the bone fire. It was a fire with bones in it.
And yes, many part of various Gaelic and Irish tribes, they would have sacrifices to often the god Bel or other deities during this time and other times too. But during this time, it's often to the Bel, and they would sacrifice, not usually a cow, because they really needed cows. But like a goat or some other kind of animal similar to that.
Whatever they were going to have a feast for. Because
Yes.
the sacrifices about this time, usually they were going to be served
and eaten. They weren't wasted.
Yes.
And that's why the fire wasn't the whole animal. Fire was the bones afterwards. We sacrificed it, we feasted, put the bones in the fire.
Yeah. A lot of people think, you know, when a sacrifice happens, especially like with animal sacrifice, which, you know, isn't really done, at least in the same manner in modern day paganism. But it's not just a waste of the thing. Some of it, yes, does go to the ground and to the deities and fae, etc. But a lot of that is given to the community, and that blessing is then shared through that sacrifice.
The killing of the animal sacrifice, some of it is provided as an offering. So we got the two different things there.
Any other comments, questions?
One more comment that I probably said before is that the latest studies on exoplanets is that there's 40 billion Earth-like planets in this galaxy alone, 40 billion. So the visitors that we call gods and goddesses are a reality. The pagans always had it right. So we always have visitors helping us out. And these visitors now are considered extraterrestrial, but that's okay. Whatever our vision is, it's okay.
Interesting.
Okay, how big their eyes
Interesting.
are.
We had it right.
Okay.
Thank you all.
On that note, we will, I guess, move on to our closing. And if you want to pull up the closing.
I'll have to reopen it. I had to kill it to get YouTube working. Just a moment.
Yes, we'll soon one day have enough technology around us that we don't have to bounce around.
Stirring the kettle.
Just a moment.
One moment. Sorry. Does anyone have a particular Beltane practice or ritual that they particularly enjoy or like to do?
Sliding.
Sliding.
Many people like the sliding, yes.
The sliding.
What is that?
That's you know, the blessing of the crops or each
Oh,
other.
yes.
Like role modeling for the crop.
Oh, okay.
Teaching the crops the right way. Fun way.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. All right. So our closing. Moonpath closing. As we blow out our candles, we will say,
Light this candle and hold it here
to everyone gathered here, safe journey home and health, my friend, until this candle burns bright again. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again.
Blessed be.
So may it be. So may it be.
So might it be.
Okay.
Again, thank you everyone for coming tonight. I would like to say history lesson and everything, and I hope to see you all this Sunday.
Yay.
Just again,
Just
everyone on
flowers.
Zoom, thank you for joining, and have a good night.
Night.
Thanks. See
Thank you.
Sunday. Bye.
Bye.